I did ask you for one more thing, though. Do you have your list of games?
I do. I don't have them in any particular order. Did you want a top 10 through 1?
No, it's fine. So what we're gonna do now for the audience is that we're gonna mention our top favorite games. I've actually already done this on with somebody else, but when I made my top favorite games list, I actually had like 30 games that I
Holy
found.
shit.
Yeah. So just so you know, my top 3 favorite games of all time is Hitman 2 Silent Assassin, not the new Hitman 2, the old one. Demon Souls, because it was my very first Souls experience, and Persona 4 Golden. Those are my 3 favorite games of all time.
That's a lot of good variety. Goddamn.
Mm-hmm. But
I don't even know what I know what I would put in my number 1 and number 2, but I don't know. I don't even know number 3.
well, you know what? That's fine. We'll work up to that. Just save your top 2, and I can start with my list here. So
Okay.
one of my, I guess this is 20 to 11, I suppose. And my 20th game here would be Heroes of Might and Magic 3. Did you play that at all, Prod?
No. Never even heard of it.
It's a turn-based PC game where you exist in this fantasy world and you can choose one of, I think, 8 different factions. You can be necromancers, you can be devils, you can be the standard knights, you can be elves, you can be dungeon, which is like minotaurs and brains, and there's all kinds of stuff. And you start
Right.
out with a hero and you move around on a board and you grab gold and you grab treasure and relics to boost your hero. You don't fight with the hero, but the hero gives you benefits and your army benefits. And it's such a beautiful, magical game. The single player experience was really incredible. Multiplayer was a lot of fun too, even though it's not greatly balanced, because one of my favorite things to do was play as the necromancers. Whenever I killed somebody, I just raised them up as skeletons, and I would have an army of like 8,000 skeletons killing even the strongest units on the board. But it
How
was a lot
old
of
is
fun.
this game?
God, 90s? Some
Oh shit, really?
Yeah, man. Real old.
Damn. All right, so then you want me to give one?
Yeah.
Because let's say, which one should I? Okay, I'll go with this one. I would say at the bottom of the list, not in any order, but GTA 4.
Okay.
And that's mainly, and you're gonna see the theme with a lot of these games, that it was mainly when I was younger, and it was at a time when all I would do is come home and play multiplayer with friends. And like the story was okay for that game. Like it was good, but the main thing was I played so much multiplayer of that game and just messed around in free roam with like 2 or 3 other friends, just killing each other and just having so much fun that I just remember I have such fond memories of playing GTA 4, and that's what I'd probably put out my top 10.
Oh, I get you, man. In fact, most of the games on my list could be. I mean, a lot of them are like just really good games, but the fact that it hit me at a time where I was like a kid and I had all this free time and I came in and I could get engrossed in this beautiful adventure, just amazing. So I
Yeah,
understand
we
you.
had. I think a lot of that is, so much time to play video games back in the day.
Yeah,
I mean, we play video games for a living now, but I guess it's different.
it is.
It's definitely different.
I had the same experience, except I played a lot of GTA San Andreas.
Ooh, that's a good one. That was the one that I was considering too, because that was also playing with friends, but it was in person and watching friends play.
Yeah, I really loved the story of that game. It was incredible, and it also comes from the fact that, when I started developing my taste in music, I listened to a lot of rap and a lot of hip hop. Started with Eminem, but then I discovered everybody from Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, and to Nas, and getting a little taste of that culture, even if it is, slightly
Very stereotypical.
yeah. It was
But the game's good. I mean, like the story, I've had friends that are a lot like some of those characters that are in the game.
Yeah.
Like it's definitely there's people that exist that are like that.
Next up on my list is Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3.
Wow, okay. A lot of 90s games, huh?
Well, you have to remember, I am 35.
Right. So you were 35 then, huh?
To be fair, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 wasn't, I don't think that was in the 90s. I think that was early 2000s because that was on the GameCube. And it was actually when I played Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 that I found Exhibit, and he had a song on there that was just such a banger. And I think Tony Hawk is actually a perfect game in that it does everything that it wants to do. It does it well. It doesn't overstay its welcome, but you can play it for hours and hours and hours. And I lost so much time to that game and just riding around, not really trying to achieve anything, just exploring the world and seeing what I could do tricks on. And I could play as Darth Maul in that game. That was cool.
So I had the same experience with a Tony Hawk game, but the one I did that a lot with when I was younger was, have you ever played American Wasteland?
Touched it barely.
Yeah, that's the one that I did that with, where I played through the whole thing, explored the world, and it's in LA, so it felt familiar.
Oh yeah, that's right, because until very recently you haven't been outside of LA.
No, not really. It wasn't until my 20s that I left LA.
That is
Okay, am I next? I'm next in video games, so now I'm getting nervous.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Next up, we'll go with let's see, something that's kind of similar to that, where I kind of had the same experience, a lot of playing with friends, playing online when I was younger. But this is all teenage years, by the way.
Yeah.
A lot of the games on here, and that is Halo 3. And I would probably mix with the campaign, which was for me at the time, my first when I did a first full playthrough of a Halo campaign, because I had played multiplayer for Halo 2 split screen when I was younger, and then Halo 3 came out. It was obviously giant when it came to marketing. It was freaking everywhere at that time.
Yeah.
That game, I put so much time into the multiplayer, and then doing the campaign, trying it on Legendary, trying it out with the different skulls. So much time put into that freaking game that I have nothing but good things to say about it.
Halo 3 was also on my top 10 list last time I did this because you could just spend so many hours playing with your friends in multiplayer. This was the first game that I really experienced that community with, because
Me too, I think. I think me too. Like the amount of times that I would get matched up in multiplayer games, and then I don't know if you ever did this, but the way you would get into infection lobbies and like custom games, you would go into multiplayer and sometimes see that somebody who you just got matched up with was playing custom games and they were playing infection.
Yeah.
So you would message them and be like, yo, could I get an invite? And then if they had room, they would invite you, and now you're in this giant infection lobby that has like 20 players, and it was just so much fun. And I've since then, I've been fucking antisocial, and like that doesn't exist in video games really anymore, to be honest.
Exactly. You were forced to work for it. It was completely new, fresh, and the game itself, man, was just really goddamn good. I played it on easy, I played it on normal, heroic, and legendary. I got all of the skulls. I did everything. I played through the game with my friends. I spent a lot of time playing on Rumble matches. I made it all the way to the top almost in Rumble matches, which is perhaps my greatest gaming achievement ever.
Ooh, damn.
So it is it is a mainstay, a pillar, you could say, of my gaming experience.
That's good. I'm glad it was in your top 10 and you know what I'm talking about when it comes to like the working for like custom matches and stuff like that. Was a different experience back then.
Yeah, and even with our difference in age, which doesn't matter too much now, but probably would matter a lot more back then. It's it 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 bound me to
It
do
hit both of those generations.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. Now, next game on my list would be Pikmin 2.
Pikmin, huh?
Have you
Interesting, dude.
No,
I've
those?
never played any Pikmin game, and Valentine keeps telling me that she wants the new Pikmin because she's played all of those back in the day.
Yeah,
She's a big fan of Pikmin.
Pikmin was a very different experience. Did you ever own a GameCube?
No. I was always PlayStation, and then a friend had a GameCube, and I just remember it because of the little tiny discs.
That is true. They had such tiny discs.
Yeah, little tiny discs.
I think it was to protect the copyright or prevent piracy, something like that.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Did you ever play a game called Overlord where you had an army of imps?
No, but I have seen gameplay of that.
Yeah. Well, basically, Pikmin was one of those strategy games for non-strategy people. You were running around, you had an army of vegetable men, and there is no game like it. The universe is incredibly interesting and cute and wholesome, and I loved Pikmin 1, but Pikmin 1 kind of forced you to... You crash landed on the planet, you had 30 days to get away. Pikmin 2, you didn't have any time limit, and you were there to find treasure, and they had all of these different things that they called treasure. I say treasure in air quotes because it could be like a half-eaten chocolate bar, or a light bulb, or a old Game Boy Advanced, that type of thing.
Right.
And it was just pure bliss. I used to sit down, play that, and listen to
Dr. Dre.
Okay, yeah, yes, but also don't judge me for this. I think it was Ja Rule and Bobby Brown. They made a song together, and it was pretty good from what I remembered. But
Wait, what is this song? Ja Rule and Bobby Brown. Thug Lovin'?
I think that's the one. Yeah, Thug Lovin'.
Have I ever heard this song? Hold on. Quick break, because now I need to hear if I've heard this song. This is what you said. This is the weirdest song to ever play while playing Pikmin, by the way. You might be the only human to have ever played this song and listened to this song while playing Pikmin 2.
Yeah. Can we move? Can you do yours now?
Ja Rule's album cover is his back, and it's called The Last Temptation. He thought he was Jesus. The Last Temptation of Ja Rule.
We could talk a lot about Ja Rule and his choice in career path, but that would be its own podcast, I think.
All right, we'll go for my next one, more modern. More of a recent game that I played for the first time within the last couple of years, and that is Subnautica.
Oh, man, I didn't put that on my list, but that's such a brilliant game.
Yeah, that game is freaking amazing. It kind of got me like at the perfect time when I needed like a really fun game to get addicted to. And I was streaming that thing for like 8 hours a day whenever I would play it.
And I want to say, I remember that because I was one of the people who suggested that game to you.
You were actually, yeah.
And I remember you having like at least 1,000 people watching you play.
Yeah,
I
had some good viewers back then.
I think
watching that freaking game.
I think a lot of people had the same experience as you, because they love the game and they love seeing other people play the game because it's there's so many different discoveries you can get in that game.
Yeah, I think watching somebody play that for the first time and like watching them come across like some of the like the Reapers, and all that in the ocean. Oh my god! Like that first experience when you go into the deeper part of the ocean is always something I'll remember because everything is light. And then as you start going deeper, it just gets darker and darker. And then you hear like a giant roar come from deeper in the ocean. And instantly, everything tells you, just go back. Screw it. I'll come back here later. I don't need to be here right now. And I think the game is fucking brilliant when it comes to the way it makes you feel about the ocean. I don't have a fear of like the ocean or that. What is it called? Thalassophobia or something like that?
Yeah.
Don't have that at all, but damn, if somebody did have that while playing this game, I mean, it induces that into you, you have fear playing that game. Like, I definitely think it could be considered a horror game.
I would tend to agree. In fact, I think this is one of the scariest non-horror games ever made, if you don't want to look at it like a horror game. It has so many different creatures and mysteries, and you never know what lurks in the depths. Just going downwards, that is scary in itself. And I remember, man, when you raided me that first time, I was so happy. I named my sea moth after you, and I was...
Oh yeah, because you started playing it again as well, huh?
Yeah, because I was watching you, and I felt like I had to, because my god, I really wanted to play it again. And I was driving my sea moth around, and then I heard this noise. I turned around, and there was a reaper staring me straight in the face. And it grabbed a hold of the sea moth. I just managed to escape, and then I just see the reaper swim away with my sea moth while I'm screaming, "Prod, no!" Because again, I named my sea moth after you.
I kind of died in that playthrough there. Instantly, too. Like, after one day, I came back, and you're like, well, you died. Because I remember you told me that you named the sea moth after me.
I did have a Prod 2, and I did have a Prod 3, I'm just saying.
Yeah. There may have been a Prod 4 as well.
Next on my list is The Darkest Dungeon.
Ooh, okay. I do know you love these two Darkest Dungeon games a lot.
Yeah, there are two of them. I think that I prefer the combat in the newest one, but I prefer the progression system and the base building of the first one. If they married those two together in a third, I would be in heaven. The Darkest Dungeon is a game where you travel through dungeons, surprisingly, and you have a crew of 4 people. You level them up, you give them names, you give them specific abilities and special trinkets, and if they die in a dungeon, they are dead. They don't return.
They are donezo.
Yeah. And that's super fun, especially if you're a streamer, because you can name these guys up after your viewers, and then you'll be like, no, not Jared. But yeah, we do hate Jared.
Jared's a great guy, and you bully him a little too much, I think.
He actually betrayed me in the Darkest Dungeon. That's why we bully him, because instead of actually helping me defeat the boss, he fought alongside the boss. He wanted to fuck the mermaid. I'm just going to be honest with you, and I don't like it.
I would have done the same thing. What a hero.
Fuck you. What's next?
Next on my list, I would put Red Dead Redemption. The first one.
I mean,
while I think the second one is a better story, it was more the multiplayer for me in the first one that made the difference, I think. Kind of like GTA 4 came out at a great time. I believe I was in, was I in middle school? I believe I was in middle school and just literally would go out of school, hop online, friends would already be playing it, just join their world, and then just mess around and do whatever we can think of in free play.
I'm not a big cowboy guy, but even I got swept away by everything that you could do and how I could hog tie a woman and leave her on the train tracks.
Yeah, and you did that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then see the train. You got an achievement for doing that. But
in the second one, right? Did you?
Well, no, in the first one, I believe. But they had to remove it because people were complaining.
Of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, that game was, when it comes to the story was fantastic. The characters very, very memorable. And again, I think the story is better on the second one, but when it comes to mixing the multiplayer, because the second one's multiplayer just, I don't know, it never hit the same way.
Yeah.
It's probably because I a lot of the friends that I used to play with, I really don't play with a lot of them anymore. And people are busy and have jobs and not able to just play all day. Also, the game was a lot more based on trying to get money out of you. Microtransactions, all that bullshit. And it didn't seem like they cared really at all. Where in the first one, it was just kind of like play, level up. And the more you level up, just naturally, you'll get like faster horses. You get a zebra and a donkey. And it just didn't have that in the second one.
Oh, and the first one also had some terrifying glitches.
It does have a lot of crazy ass glitches from what I remember.
Do you remember the donkey woman?
No. Is this like a specific glitch?
Yeah, that's a specific glitch. It is a woman whose skin is being stretched over a donkey model. And she runs like a donkey. Give me a second. I can probably find this for you.
Now I want to see the donkey woman. Is this the donkey lady?
Yeah, there's the donkey lady. If you go.
Oh my god, this video. Oh my god. What the fuck? Oh my god, he rides her as well.
Yeah.
Wow.
The game had a bunch of glitches like that. It was hilarious and freaking scary at the same time, man.
It looks terrifying, to be honest.
There was also a wagon glitch that kind of sent it flying up into the air. And you know what? Glitches aside, it also had some really cool DLC or expansion packs. Undead Nightmare was very much fun, in my opinion.
Yeah, I never played them. I never played the DLCs. It was just the main game for me.
Yeah. No, I'm a big zombie dude. I'm a big fan of horror movies and all of that stuff. So I had to play Undead Nightmare, and it's just fantastic.
The frickin' what's it called? The ragdoll physics in that game were amazing as well.
Oh, dude, that's something that I kind of miss in newer games. A lot of games nowadays, they try to have very realistic ragdolls. The janky ones were just so much fun, though, to play around with in different games.
I think they made didn't they make an entire ping pong game just to test out like the physics for like GTA 4 and Red Dead?
Did they? Let's see.
I think the ping pong game, from what people have said, is really good as well.
The game engine used for Red Dead Redemption and GTA was first used for a table tennis simulation game.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Okay. That's pretty cool.
I think they made it just to, and like the game is really highly rated as well.
The physics in those games, though, are... I mean, Rockstar does a lot of solid work, and I don't remember much in the way of... I don't remember too many game-breaking glitches in those games, so they also do solid work on the programming front there.
Yeah, I mean, like the physics are fun. Like knocking into somebody constantly with a horse so they keep falling is always really funny. Chasing them around with the horse so you keep knocking them over was just the funnest shit to do in Red Dead.
Speaking about Red Dead and Rockstar, are you excited for GTA 6?
I'm excited for the single player, but past that, like goddamn, I hope that it's not just a giant way to try to make more microtransaction money, because like that's what Red Dead 2's like multiplayer felt like.
Probably, I'm gonna be honest.
I probably, I don't give a shit about multiplayer, but I'm excited for the single player. I was a huge fan of GTA. I almost put GTA 5 in here.
Yeah. I didn't mention this, but I only allowed the man one game per franchise.
Yeah, Russ. I mean, it would have been Dark Souls 3, Bloodborne. But I had a couple multiplications in there of games.
Next game on my list, and I'm curious, did you ever have a Nintendo 64?
No. I think that was before my time.
Oh, you youngin'. Banjo-Kazooie.
I have heard of Banjo-Kazooie. It's funny how most of the games on your list are like games that I've only heard of. Barely seen gameplay of. I've heard whispers of them.
It is kind of like, on the Nintendo 64, you had a bunch of really good platformers, but Mario 64 is, of course, the legendary game. but I always thought that Banjo-Kazooie had more flavor to it, and that's probably because Mario 64 just became the biggest mainstream game of all time almost. Banjo-Kazooie, though, had really interesting characters, had a bunch of sneaky secrets, and a lot of really fun exploration. I can remember every single level in Banjo-Kazooie. I think I could go through the game now and just grab every single collectible in that game. It is just that easy to remember. It had amazing snow levels. It had amazing horror levels. They had all of those standard themes, but it had so much personality, every single one of them. And you could even fly through the levels, which I know you could do in Mario 64 as well with a cap, but there was just such a freedom for little old me when I played that as a kid. When I remember flying around this huge, at the time, huge world and trying to find secrets. Definitely a childhood nostalgia thing, but also a really good game.
I have heard the game's really good, especially for young whippersnappers playing it at the time, But I don't have much experience with a lot of
whippersnappers. I don't know.
That's who you guys were.
I can't look. That word coming from your mouth is
whippersnapper. All the young kids are saying it.
Whippersnapper?
Yeah, they say that's a lit whippersnapper right there. We're gonna find out that it's like a really racist term from back in the day, and then I'm gonna get canceled.
Look,
that's what they call young kids, right? That's what old people call young kids.
Yes. Whippersnappers, I suppose.
All right, let's see.
You
want me to move on? Okay.
Yeah, let's move on.
Dead Space 1, the OG.
Dead Space 1, excellent choice.
Now, I would say that the new one is probably better than the original, because even though it was a different time, I feel like the original, putting it on my top 10 list, original, because of it was one of my first horror games that I played. It was a game that my friend had. I didn't even have it, but he had, and I would always borrow it from him. And there's actually another game on the list that is the same as this, where I would borrow it, and I was always too afraid to beat it, so I would play a little bit of it here or there, and then give it back to him, and then try to start over again and play it from the beginning. It took multiple times borrowing it to finally get through it, because the game scared the shit out of me when I was young.
Oh, I get you, man. That game was incredible for its time. It did one thing really well, in my opinion, not just the dismemberment mechanic, but what it did was it managed to bring new things into the fray at a perfect pace, so you didn't feel too frustrated playing through it, or it wasn't too difficult. Horror games needs to have a very specific difficulty, and balancing that is hard. Because, too hard, you get frustrated and you don't want to play it anymore and it's not scary. Too easy and, you're just a golden god walking through all of these ghosts and goblins. So that is one of the few games that did that correctly. And it's probably why there are now way more horror games where you cannot fight back.
I think so as well. Especially with the scares. That game always had some of the most interesting scares where you feel like everything's all right. You get through the point where you think something will come out and happen, and then you're like, oh, nothing happened, and then 2 minutes later, a random, what do they call them, necromorphs, would come out and just at a random vent and scare the shit out of you. The way they worked their scares were pop-up scares, but they felt like that's probably how it would actually happen if it was a real scenario.
Yeah, oh my god, man, they definitely did jump scares correctly.
They did. Yeah. And the sounds design in that game is freaking amazing as well.
So I understand that the newest game is, of course, better, but they are already improving on a masterpiece, and they have already gotten a lot of feedback. The first Dead Space game, just that game being as good as it was is an incredible feat. And you can tell that, I know you played the Callisto Protocol.
Yeah.
Was it? It's of course not as good, but how did the Callisto Protocol hold up to you?
It was okay. The story was pretty awful from what I remember, but the combat was fun. I can appreciate what they tried. I feel like they tried something new when it comes to this type of combat with like the dodging and stuff. But it definitely did not hit the same note as like a Dead Space, because the remake came out like a month or two later, and it just kind of like, oh, like this is what it was trying to go for. It didn't hit the same type of notes.
So Dead Space, incredible game. One of the scariest games of all time, I want to say, where you can actually fight back.
Definitely.
Next on my list is Prince of Persia: Sands of Time, another GameCube game, or PlayStation 2.
Ooh. Is that where was that your first console? GameCube?
No, no, man. I got my first console when I was 4 years old. My family never had a lot of money, but I had this one aunt who wasn't really married, who didn't do much, so her family was a lot of her life. So I was really good at the dentist, and so she gave me the first Nintendo. So the Nintendo Entertainment System was my first console. And
shit.
I got a bunch of games on that one. I got a bunch of games on the Super Nintendo. I think that the Nintendo 64 is where thing really, really got serious. And I had like 30 games for the Nintendo 64. And with the GameCube, it kind of solidified like, yeah, I'm doing this for the rest of my life. I'm buying games.
That's so interesting. Yeah, I never had any of the early Nintendo ones, because I feel like people around me always had them. And I felt like they were always the expensive consoles.
You went to your friend's house to play, and then there was that one kid that you maybe weren't that good of a friend with, but he did have a Nintendo.
Yeah, so yeah, definitely.
I was the kid. I was the kid that people
didn't.
You
were him.
Yeah, people didn't necessarily like me, but I had the Nintendo, so they were over at my house. I still had a great time though, but the Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time was another platforming game, really. I was a big fan of platformers, and the Sands of Time, they developed the formula. You could run on walls, you could vault with, is it called vault? You can swing on poles, all kinds of stuff.
They were like the OG Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, exactly, or a super powerful stripper,
Yeah.
I was also really interested in the settings, because that Arabian Nights type of storytelling and that point in time in world history is also really beautiful to me. So being able to explore the castle over there was incredible, and it had a lot of cool details. For example, if you died, you would hear the prince say, no, that's not how it happened, because the entire game is framed like you were telling the story of your adventure to a princess.
Oh, that's cool.
As you progress in the story, you meet a lady, and the lady, she has her own... It's not somebody that you save, but she has her own mission to accomplish, and you go through and you help each other at certain points, and then you get to know her. And that's kind of what carries the narrative for a little while. And then, she gets, I don't want to say kidnapped, but you get separated. And then you climb further and further up. And towards the end, there's this huge tower that you have to climb up. And the sense of progression and everything was just beautiful. It's a pure experience, I want to say.
Now, I imagine you were a big fan of the movie, of Jake Gyllenhaal's movie, of course.
I watched it and I didn't hate it, but at that point I do think I was like, so many of these video game movies are bad, so there's no hope for this movie.
Yeah, that's what I've heard too. Never seen it. Although I love Jake Gyllenhaal, but
He's a good man.
yeah, not even I'm watching that.
Yeah, I watched it. It was fine. I don't remember it too much, but it was probably bland is the best way of putting it.
Probably, yeah.
Did you watch the Assassin's Creed movie?
No, with Michael Fassbender.
Yeah.
No, I did not. Was it good?
I don't know. I haven't seen it, and now I'm kind of curious. Which one is better? Prince of Persia or Assassin's Creed?
The worst question to ask. That would be the worst question ever asked.
Okay, that's another podcast topic. I think you're up.
Call of Duty 4
Yeah.
would be another game I would add to my list.
A game that you built your YouTube channel on.
Yeah, it was pretty much my first Call of Duty. Kind of like got me pretty much into YouTube. I'm assuming some people still don't know that I started playing Call of Duty, and that was my first 7 years on YouTube.
Yeah.
Before I ever played any type of Souls game, it was all Call of Duty. My love for it started on Call of Duty 4. The amount of hours, I probably have many hundreds, if not a couple thousand hours into Call of Duty 4.
Yeah,
because it shows it. I believe I got like something like 60 days played. So whatever that is in like actual time, 60 full days.
Okay, 60
in that game.
days in hours.
So, how many hours that is? That's how many hours I have played on that.
So 60 days are 1,440 hours.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
And I have that many hours into pretty much like that game and Black Ops 2 and Modern Warfare 2. Like those 3 games and Black Ops 1 were around the era where I started my YouTube channel. And it was just, I have so many fond memories of many friends that I'm still friends with that I met back in Call of Duty 4. It was a very special time for a young prod.
And if you want to know more about Young Prod, you can check out the other podcast I did with him where we tell about our YouTube journeys.
Oh, yeah. Well, there you go. We don't even need to explain the YouTube journey. But the game was great. Multiplayer is still probably one of the best Call of Duties ever.
Yeah.
And the single player is also pretty freaking fun in that game.
Yeah. This was when they were firing on all cylinders and the recipe hadn't gotten stale yet.
Oh, yeah. This is where it started, in my opinion. Like, this is where it became Call of Duty. And, like, the Call of Duty we know now with the giant epic campaigns. I mean, they shot a goddamn... I'm pretty sure it's Call of Duty 4. They shot a goddamn nuke in that game, and you walk through the area where that just got nuked and you get radiation poisoning and you fucking fall over and die, Like, it's such a cool campaign. And, it was pretty much the reason I started my YouTube channel.
Perfect. That's a mic drop if I've ever heard one. Next on my list is a game that doesn't need a lot of explanation. It's Minecraft.
Oh shit, Minecraft, really?
Yeah, I played a lot of Minecraft. I didn't actually start with Minecraft. It looked a little, I don't know, in the beginning it looked a little, I want to say dead to me because I didn't think that, right, I need to create my own goals in the game. But I played a lot of Terraria, which is basically a 2D Minecraft. And I got deeper and deeper into that. And I finally decided I'll try out Minecraft. And then the first few worlds in Minecraft, I can still remember the generation. It's actually seared into my brain. I had to dig with my bare hands into the mountainside because I was just walking around and then I heard zombies and then I didn't have a bed or anything, so I just waited until it was day in complete darkness, just being scared, and then eventually I started getting into building cooler stuff and making it look good, and it's just a nice creative process that it's the most selling game of all time, I believe.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the most selling games. I feel like people, when you say that, they only know of Minecraft like now and like the Minecraft YouTubers and shit, so they might think it's like cringy. But man, back in the day when that game came out, the amount of time that I put into it as well, all the same friends I played COD with, played Minecraft with on the Xbox 360.
You could have been a Minecraft YouTuber.
So fun. I could have. Imagine if I went that route instead of Call of Duty, I'd be a trillionaire by now.
The sad thing is, that might be true.
Yeah, I'd own a Minecraft right now.
Yeah.
If I would have just made a Minecraft video.
You would be.
But that game was so much freaking fun, dude.
You would be Spicy Dream.
Is that like one of the Spice Girls?
No, you don't know who Dream is.
Oh,
yeah, because you're Latino and I'm racist. And,
yeah, I get you. Because it's spicy, because of the salsa and all that stuff.
I mean, to be fair, I did yesterday. I had tacos, and today I started the day out with a burrito. So, I mean, I'm not.
You're cool, man.
Well, yeah.
That was me trying to do a Spanish accent speaking English. Yeah. Okay.
Well,
but yeah, fuck, man. I would almost put that in my top 10 as well with how much fun I had with it back in the day.
Yeah. A lot of my top 10s are... So, when I played Minecraft, it hit me at the point of my life where I don't have a lot of nostalgia for it. I just appreciate how fun it is.
Right, I get you.
Which is why it's not on my top 10 list, but it's on my 20 to 19.
You like all that creative shit too.
I
like
do.
Anytime that we play a multiplayer game that's kind of like that, you're always the one to build a house.
I love building stuff. I love creating bases. When I was a kid and I played games like, let's say, Zelda, I found like one room, and whenever I beat like a boss, I would go back to that room and I would be like, okay, I'm home now. Time to plan out my next attack. Because I was, a kid and I enjoyed having a base. And now these games allow me to make those. It still sticks, man. It still sticks.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I'm always like, I think like every single time we play Minecraft, which I think has been like 3 or 4 times at this point.
Yeah.
You're the one who kind of starts the house and you're kind of making it out of different materials, and I could hear you building it, and then it's me constantly just running by, killing things, going to get food.
Exploring.
I'm always the hunter.
Yeah.
And the exploring. You'll hear me die out there, and I'm like, okay, I died, I lost all my things, I don't know where I am. And then you have to go upstairs and guide me after that.
So basically, you're Indiana Jones, and I'm Bob the Builder.
Yeah, you're that little freak, Bob the Builder. And I'm Indiana Jones.
Look. Women might not be as attracted to me initially as they are to you, but once they realize I have my own business, I'm good with my hands, I work out.
And you got that square dick too. That thing is as hard as a piece of plastic.
Well, yeah, I'm marriage material.
You're quite the man, I would say, as Bob the Builder.
What's your next one?
Batman Arkham City.
Oh.
So that was kind of like a last minute toss in because I had multiple Souls games on there. You said it was only one.
Yeah.
You said pick one from Soft Game.
Yeah.
And I did. And that was kind of like a last minute toss in, but it is really close to making that top 10 list because out of so many like superhero games that have come out now, I still think it's probably the best. In terms of like story and your the back and forth between you and the Joker in that game is so goddamn good.
Yeah. There is nothing I can say that would change that. It is absolutely one of the best superhero games of all time. I would personally put Arkham Asylum there, but not because it's better, but because it has more nostalgia. But these games redefined superhero games, man.
Oh, yeah. I mean, even like that type of combat, with the reactive combat and going back and forth, that pretty much every single game like Spider-Man uses nowadays was originated with these Arkham games. And the only reason I put City over Asylum is because I never finished Asylum.
Oh, you did?
So I got like halfway through. And then it was back in the day when I was younger. So I was recording all the time playing Call of Duty and just got distracted doing that. Even back then it was still the same as it is now.
Yeah, I was about to say, isn't that exactly the same?
I do exactly the same thing. It's funny. I was thinking about it when I was making the list too, like how many games I haven't finished, and I've done that since I was a kid. And I never realized it until I was making this list of how often I do that, where I don't finish a game.
I think that's
Like
pretty normal.
people call me out on that now and are like, "You ever gonna finish this and this and this and this and this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, one day, when I have some spare time." And then I realized, holy fuck, I've done this since I was a kid, where I
Yeah.
never finished games.
Look,
But
man,
yeah, Arkham City, dude.
if you take a look at the Steam charts, or not Steam charts, but the Steam achievements, you'll see that there's so few
Yeah, most
people
people I
finished it
think
all.
are like that. Yeah,
Arkham City,
Arkham
absolutely
City.
fantastic game. Next on my list here, Age of Empires 2.
Okay, interesting.
Another game I don't
PC
think.
game?
Yeah, okay, another game you have no idea what's it about.
I know it because of Valentine, and she's a giant PC nerd
Oh,
and played PC games when she was younger, and
yeah.
Age of Empires, and she played like that and Command and Conquer, and like all these freaking nerdy ass turn-based games.
Yeah.
You guys are a bunch of nerds.
I mean, yes. Age of Empires 2 was always the quintessential real-time strategy game for me. The same way as Heroes of Might and Magic 3 was the quintessential turn-based strategy game. It is a game where you take control over, a certain civilization, and then you battle it out. You have mostly the same units, but there's a few different changes that makes all the difference. So if you're playing as the Saracens, or the people from, Arabia, you have access to camels, and if you're playing as the Britons, you don't have access to camels. You have knights, and you have to take into account this whole rock paper scissors system. And not only was that incredibly fun, it also had a campaign where you could go through and fight as certain historical commanders, and you could get to experience certain battles. There was, for example, one campaign where you start out as, what's her face? Joan of Arc. And
Ooh, okay, that's cool.
yeah. And you start out in a small village, and you have to move her from one place to the next. And the next level, you're building up your army. The next level, you are taking over Paris, or whatever the hell she did. It was a real learning experience, and it was one of the first things that really made me think about other cultures.
Strategy? Oh.
Well, yeah, no, other cultures.
It's crazy. Yeah. I wish you would have kept that from when you were younger.
And how much I hate them.
Yeah, it went the opposite way.
Yeah. the fucking guys.
That's where you learned your hatred.
Yeah, because I was always beaten when I played against the Arabians. So that's where.
And you were always the white knight. You're like, I'm only gonna be them.
Yeah, of course. I'm always the whitest people, the Anglo-Saxons, the Britons. There you go.
And then when you got matched up against, you went, it's those Arabians again. Even as a young whippersnapper, you did that.
I did. Yes, I was. You know how they say that racism isn't. You're not born with racism. It's a learned behavior. That's a lie. I was born a racist.
You were born with it.
Yeah. I just see somebody of a different race or color, and I'm like, where's my gun? Maybe we'll cut this out.
Yeah. Oh, fuck me. So Age of Empires.
Yeah, Age of Empires is a really good game. It's one of the best games of all time.
Wait, there's about 17 of them now. Did you only like is it like nostalgia since you were young at that time?
I mean, yes, but here's the thing. There are 4 Age of Empire games and a bunch of spin-offs. And Age of Empires 2 was actually the most balanced and perfect version of it, because Age of Empires 2 now has a pretty big esports scene, and I'm following that esports scene. I used to watch a lot of wrestling, and then the wrestling was actually really bad for a while, and so I switched over to something else, and I saw this one match from a guy called T90. He was casting it, and I kind of fell in love with my childhood again, and then I realized, wait a minute, this game is actually super interesting in how all of these civilizations interact and how you are supposed to win when your civilization is actually not great against the one you have. It's a very dynamic kind of game with a lot of exciting moments. So that's one of the reasons why I'm talking about it, because it was brought back fairly recently, the last few years, and now I almost don't go a day without watching at least 30 minutes of Age of Empires.
Damn, I might have to check out some of that pro scene. That sounds interesting, to be honest. I want to see what pros do in certain scenarios.
Well, it is. I can show you some really exciting matches. It's really fun.
All right, so next on my list, there's only 3 left. Resident Evil 4.
Classic.
The classic, the OG. I would say the new one is great as well, but certain nostalgia, of course, puts it a little bit higher.
Yeah, of course.
Of playing it back in the day, seeing it for the first time. I have so much nostalgia for that game. I watched my brother play it first, and he played it first. The idea of like spoilers wasn't a thing in my head yet, I think.
Yeah.
Back then. So I didn't give a shit. I watched him play. I went, ooh, that looks like fun. So I think my first playthrough that I did might have been with like the infinite ammo Tommy gun. So, it was extra fun because I was just obliterating everything. But then as I, grew up, I played it again. A couple of years before the remake was announced, I played it on stream all over again. And damn, it's just such a fun and good game to experience for the first time.
Everything that we basically said about Dead Space holds true for Resident Evil 4. In fact, Resident Evil 4 was going to be on this list, but I wasn't certain, so it was pushed off by 1 actually.
Ooh, by 1, huh?
By 1 game, and
well, there you go. It's on my list now, so
yeah.
we pretty much we can talk all about it.
I think one of the things that I really appreciated about that game was the siege element in the beginning, where you run into town, everybody points at you and gets super angry, and now you have to run. And the fact that you can run in a building and try to keep them at bay by shoving things in front of the doors, and then they're banging on the windows, and then you hear a ladder
breaking
go
the
up.
windows, knocking down ladders, basically trying to survive in any way you can.
And you ran up the staircase, and you find a goddamn shotgun, and then, okay, it's on. That is perhaps one of the most exhilarating openings in any game ever.
Oh yeah, I would freaking agree. Because it gets to the point, it like does it so perfectly. Somehow it just knows every single time right before you're about to die, and then the bell rings, and then you go, oh shit, and then they all leave, and you're literally saved by some random thing, and you're just like, holy fuck, like that's just the beginning of the game, the first village, and that's just the beginning of that first experience that is so goddamn fun.
Well, the game has a dynamic difficulty, so it's actually reading you how well you're doing, and it will give you more or less bullets, more or less healing, more or less enemies. The game knows.
Oh, really?
Man.
Damn.
Yeah. In fact, one of the things I remember the most about this game is actually a review I read. It wasn't a review that talked about how good the mechanics are or anything like that. It was a review that was written like a short story about how he narrowly escaped death in that opening village sequence. And at the end, he was like, dude, this is a 10 out of 10 game. You shouldn't spoil yourself. You should just go in there blind. I did, and never regretted it.
Yeah. I
had
it's
infinite
definitely
ammo.
Well, yeah. At least I think I did. Honestly, like it's one of those things where I remember doing a playthrough when I was young with the infinite ammo weapons.
Yeah.
But I don't. I'm just assuming it was going to be my first playthrough, but I was too young to. If I would have played it, shit. How old was I? This came out in 2005 on PS2, or it might have come out later on PS2 because that's where I played it. I didn't play it on the original GameCube. I think that's where it came out first.
GameCube first.
Played it on the
then
PS2 back in the day, and I was probably a little pussy and decided to do it with the infinite ammo weapons. But fuck me, like the game is still just so goddamn good. The scares are good. The characters, I really like Leon.
Yeah.
And I thought he was the coolest character back in the day. And I thought he was the most badass dude.
I wanted his jacket so like much.
That. And I wanted to be like him. And yeah, there's a lot of nostalgia with that game as a single player game. And yeah, I do love that game.
Even loved Ashley.
I thought she was okay. Even from back then, I feel like I still kind of like,
well,
whatever.
The thing is, I played a lot of really bad, missions where you have to protect somebody. And in this situation, she was so easy to take care of that I kind of sort of fell in love with her as a mechanic.
Yeah, like telling her to hide and all that.
Yeah. Yeah. Next on my list is Fable 1.
Ooh, Fable, huh?
Did you play the Fable games?
I played a little bit of Fable 1 back in the Xbox 360.
I kind of find it fascinating how we have such a interest. There's a lot of different games here, even though we play the same games now.
Yeah, it's really weird. To be honest, back in the day, I didn't play a ton of games, especially like in my like growing up teenage years. Some of the games you see now are like some of the few games that I played.
Yeah.
I was very poor and didn't have a lot of money to buy games.
Well, I managed to. At that point, I think my mom and dad had actually managed to settle a little bit more. My dad was a prison guard, and my mom was an accountant, and they managed to give me enough of an allowance that I could buy like one game every other month, so to speak.
Right.
And one of those games were Fable 1, and Fable 1 has a lot of British charm to it, a lot of British humor. I mean, yeah, it was like a very unique fantasy world. While the gameplay itself wasn't all that good, it had a lot of interesting ideas. For example, you can't choose how you look. Fine, you can choose your clothes, but your face will change depending on how you act. Which was...
That is what I heard. You become like more like demon-like, right?
Yeah, basically. The first game... It only had like evil or good a slider, and you could grow horns or you could grow a halo, which was really cool. The follow-up had a little bit more complex system where you not only were good or evil, but also pure and unpure. And in the second game, I was good. I was a good guy, but I fucked a lot of hookers. So I was very unpure. So it had a really fun dynamic. But I love the first one for the most because of nostalgia, of course. And the music was made by Danny Elfman, who has some of the most...
Oh shit! Yeah, like Spider-Man.
Yeah, did he do Spider-Man?
Yeah, Danny Elfman.
Yeah, okay. Right? Well, he did Batman.
Pretty sure he did. Shit.
Okay.
I might be mistaken.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, he did the soundtrack for Spider-Man 1.
Okay, well, he also did, like, Batman, he did The Simpsons, he has a ton of different music, and the fantasy spin that he puts on it, this quirky, sneaky world, absolutely fucking love it.
Yeah, that's one of those games that Valentine keeps telling me to play.
They didn't remake, but they did put out a kind of sort of fixed version of it. So it's worth a go, man. It's worth a go.
New one's coming out. You excited for it?
Yes, I am. I am paying attention more than a lot of other games, but we'll see. I don't know if we haven't seen a lot of gameplay from it yet. They in the third game they removed the character morphing mechanic and instead they put it on your weapon, which I didn't like because one of the main things I loved was I wanted to see if I act according to my own morals, uh, you know, however lacking they may be, how would I end up looking? And that is not something that happened in the second one. No, in the third one. Instead, you were kind of using one weapon the entire time. It was a bit of a mess, honestly, in my opinion. The new one, yeah, I am a little excited, but I'm careful about my excitement.
I guess that's it's good to be reserved, especially for like classic games that you really like. All right, so now we're in the last two.
Okay,
This is a long ass video, by the way, huh?
Yeah, I honestly just expecting it to be like 1 hour, but we're at 1 hour 41 minutes.
Okay, we'll get to this last two quickly.
Yeah.
All right. So at number 2 on my list, and this is like I would actually probably put this at 1 and 2, is BioShock.
Okay. All right. I see
That
ya.
is BioShock. Oh man. So this is the other game that when I was a teenager, early teens, my friend had, and I would always borrow BioShock and Dead Space. And I had a similar situation like Dead Space to BioShock where I was really scared to finish it because I played the first mission where they take you up in the pod and you see the splicers in the
Yeah.
darkness. And that scared the shit out of me when I was younger. And then you go out and you get your first ability, and then all the different splicers, the way they were in that game really scared me. For some reason, it just hit the right notes to scare me where I didn't play a lot of it instantly. And it wasn't until like I got the guts to borrow it for like a third time, and then I played through it, and holy shit, man, like that freaking game is just, when it comes to the abilities and the different weapons and the characters and the lore was learned later on, to be honest, because I didn't really kind of get it as a young teen, but later on in life, watching videos of like the different lore, it like all connected from that point. I was like, fuck, yeah, like I remember all of this, and it's just the first playthrough of that game is so memorable to me.
Dude, I am so happy that you mentioned BioShock because that's also one of my favorite games. And I also have a really interesting history with the game. I still have the special edition Big Daddy figurine in my living room today.
Oh wow, shit. That's
Yeah.
sick, dude.
That game came out when I was about 19 or 20, so it kind of hit us at two very different times. But at that time, I was actually going to community college, and I was doing it. It was theater, so they had like this huge barn that they had converted to a stage, and they had this cinema canvas there that you could that I could play on. So I played that entire game where the Big Daddy probably was life-sized because I played it in a movie theater, basically.
Yeah, that's pretty freaking sick, to be honest.
It
Oh,
was.
man.
It is one of my absolute most favorite experiences ever playing any video game, and I think that first like sequence that you're talking about when you're moving around and you could see like a Big Daddy walk in a different tube that you were in. I remember a few people coming in while I was playing, and they were like, holy shit, what is going on? And I had like a group of guys sit there with me as I played the game. They didn't even want to fucking play. They would just want to be there and experience the story. It was,
It's unique for a single player game too. Like,
yeah.
It felt like a world that existed. I think it might have been one of the first games that I played where it felt like a world that existed already, and you just kind of happened to stumble upon it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get you. That's one of the things that Souls do really well. The world exists, and they don't give a fuck about you. You know, you're just there, and you have to do the best with it.
But yeah, I love BioShock, and almost like I really wanted to put BioShock Infinite. I would probably put BioShock Infinite in my top 10 as well. But you know, with the one game, but that game too is so amazing.
Honestly, I love all of them.
That game came out when I was like I think I was like turning 18 or something like that, 19. So it hit me around the same point it hit you for BioShock 1.
Yeah.
And that game was more like I understood it more. And then with the DLCs that connected into the first game, and you figure out that this is like a prequel. And the game, it's so good, especially connected with BioShock 1.
Dude, the DLC, man, was... I know one of them was just incredible.
Yeah, the DLCs were really fun. Under the Sea, I think they were called.
Yeah.
Where you went to... God, what's the goddamn city called? Rapture.
Yeah.
You went to Rapture with BioShock Infinite, and you had the regular section, I think, was the first DLC, where you had guns and everything. I think the second section was more stealth, where you played as Elizabeth.
Yes.
But those DLCs were so good, too.
Absolutely fantastic. There is nothing else to say. I also fucking forgot to make my video public today, so I'll do that now. Because I was like, all right, we'll knock this one out of the park here. But
yeah, it's been like almost 2 hours now. You know what? It's a podcast, though. Podcasts are long.
Yeah, more prod is always lovely. But BioShock, amazing game. Both 1, 2, and Infinite, I have really good experiences with. I guess BioShock 2 doesn't get talked about a lot. But
yeah, I still love that game, to be honest. I still love BioShock 2.
Yeah. Okay, so here's my top. This is technically top 11 game, I suppose, but this is the top of this list. Perfect Dark.
Okay, another game I never played.
Another game you never played. Here's the fun thing. Perfect Dark was made by the same people that made GoldenEye, and even if you didn't play GoldenEye, you probably know how much of a legendary game that is in the community.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I feel like Perfect Dark deserves just as much credit, if not more credit, because while GoldenEye might have had a better single-player experience, Perfect Dark had an incredible multiplayer experience. You could take every single skin in the game and combine them with any of the heads in the game. You had bots. I don't remember how many bots there were, but I think there were more than 4. Which was, the standard multiplayer stuff that you could have back in the day. And there was a range of incredible weapons, from the laptop gun, which was basically a laptop that you could shoot, but it also had an alternate fire mode where you could throw it on a wall and it would act like a turret gun.
Right, okay.
It
was like all spy shit, right? Like espionage and spies. She was a spy, I think.
She was a spy, but she figured out that one of the big corporations that she was spying on was actually aliens in disguise.
Not aliens.
But then you find another alien, which is your friend, and that alien is fighting the other aliens, and it was a whole thing. They didn't like each other very much.
I think they're remaking that game, right? Like a new one's coming out soon.
They made a Perfect Dark for the Xbox. I think it was the 360, I think it was the 360. It didn't really work all that great. I think something that Perfect Dark did very well was a sense of place, because it had a hub world where you basically ran around in this building called the Carrington Institute, and you could go to the computer and choose your missions. You could go to the training area and you could fight simulations of your enemies, or you could go to the shooting range, or you could do all of these different things, and it had a ton of secrets. It was like playing GoldenEye, but on crack cocaine. It was...
Yeah, like a big leap in from GoldenEye.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the things I remember the most as a kid was me and my friends would play against the computers, and there was this one area called the bunker where we entered the bunker. We got our laptop guns because we could just throw them on the wall and have them act as turrets, and we would have the bots come and assault us. We kind of created this horde mode in Perfect Dark that would become super popular in all of these other games.
Pretty freaking cool.
It was amazing, and it is... Halo 3 is my favorite shooter, I believe, but Perfect Dark was definitely the origin of my fascinations with shooters at the time.
Oh shit.
Mm-hmm.
That was what console was that for? GameCube?
No, that was for the Nintendo 64.
Oh, really? I thought it came out later.
Yeah, no. It was the spiritual successor to GoldenEye, and it improved on it in probably every single way, with the exception of, I want to call it the flavor, because James Bond is probably a much more known brand, and more people want to be like James Bond than Joanna Dark, but it's still a better game in my opinion.
That's cool. I will probably check out the new one when it comes out.
You should.
All right, so now for number one. Now, the number one was kind of a toss-up, to be honest. Like, I always go back and forth between these two in the series. But for now, I'll say that my number one favorite game of all time is Elden Ring.
Oh, okay. I was thinking it would be Dark Souls 3.
So yeah, I was actually thinking that as well. And I have so much history now with Dark Souls 3. With, with starting my YouTube career. I would probably give it credit. Like, I'll go back and forth between Elden Ring and Dark Souls 3 as always my favorite games of all time. But Elden Ring is just, damn, dude. I feel like I had never played a game like that until it came out. Like, I get that it's big Dark Souls, but like the world being so huge, the amount of areas you can explore, the amount of bosses, the amount of weapons, the story, how epic some of those bosses are, just feels like the ultimate culmination of all the Souls games that I love so much into like one massive explosion of all the good stuff. And then it also obviously had PvP, which has been fun.
I think...
Yeah, I would probably put this as my number one.
I think Elden Ring did something that open world games are very hesitant to do, and that is to trust the player in finding their own way. There was a lot of people complaining on Twitter, now X.
Oh, yeah.
That why do we even spend all of this time making these intricate journal systems and these waypoints when apparently we don't want them? And I don't necessarily need a very complicated waypoint system. If you create a world, and you kind of, through both gameplay and world design, kind of lead the player into the right direction using, sightlines and enemy difficulty and all of that. Yeah,
I agree. Yeah.
yeah, it is such a organic experience, and you are being guided, but in the most organic way possible.
Yeah, it did the Dark Souls, Dark Souls 1 being all connected and stuff, but in such a massive way, and somehow still found a way to give you some memorable characters. And somehow my first playthrough still being able to find every NPC and like doing a shit ton of quest lines.
Yeah.
And I mean, the fact that you're able to do that with no type of guidance is amazing. Like they made such an intuitive world, I think, where you don't even need that type of guide. That on your map it doesn't pin and go, he's here, go here. This is where the next quest starts. It's a very special open world game, I think.
The exploration in that game is unrivaled, in my opinion, because, well, FromSoft are really good at hiding away secrets, and in a straightforward game, that's really appreciated. But in a open world game, that is absolutely necessary, because the rewards you get for exploring could be a weapon, it could be an Ash of War, a spell, an NPC, or not even that, but you could find an area that looks interesting, and if you take all of your environment in, it could tell you something about the story. So you're always looking, you're always trying to decipher the world, because there's generally always a meaning to it.
Yeah, I think that they like I said, they took everything they learned and they did in previous Souls games and somehow managed to make it work in like this massive. I mean, the game is freaking huge.
Yeah.
I'm still surprised of like how fucking big the game is sometimes,
And we haven't even touched on the quality of the bosses, the quality of the enemies, the core combat, how much just adding a jump to the Souls recipe changes up how you proceed through a level. Man.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to like the bosses, damn, it has. Well, I would still say Dark Souls 3 overall has more better bosses. I think that some bosses in Elden Ring are just as good as like a Gale or a Medir or a Frida. They kind of reach that same apex of boss fights.
Yeah. The one thing I want to say about Elden Ring when it comes to bosses in a negative way is probably they reused too many of the same ones. And I know that it's a big game and they may have bit over too much to chew on, but perhaps not have 17 different tree spirits,
Yeah, I agree. There's a couple that work really well. I would say, for example, the ones that I really liked that were kind of repeated was, damn, I can't even remember them. The bird, kind of skeleton birds.
Deathbird, yeah.
The death birds. Those, the deeper you get into the game, they evolve more, and some of them will have wings and will disappear and have these crazy special attacks. Those, like the evolution of them was cool. And it was nice to see a variety of tree spirits, but for most of the parts, it was like, this is a tree spirit, but it's rotten. Like I feel like they needed more variety to make it seem more special. If they were going to duplicate bosses.
I want to also say that I'm going to talk about tree spirit. It's I don't remember what the name is. The ulcerated? Is that what it is? Tree spirit?
Right, the big worm one?
Yeah. I actually really like the tree guardian spirit, the one where they basically took the asylum demon and they treeified him.
Yeah.
I really like that. I think that's actually my favorite enemy to fight. It's not too difficult, fun moves to avoid.
You were thinking of the wormy
worms,
version of...
yes. I actually like the other ones.
Interesting. I was thinking of the other ones, the chubby ones.
Well, to each their own, I suppose. You like them chubby, huh?
Yeah, they're good there. Wait, what? You like them chubby? You like that, boss? I'm a fan of the worm.
All right, that's okay. Yeah, okay. Well, I've got.
I'm a worm fan. You like chubby, and I like worms. There you go.
There we go. That is Prod's top 10 list. That is my.
Wait, what's your number one?
Did we not say that? It was Perfect Dark.
Oh, that's your favorite game of all time?
Oh no, you want my favorite? So I basically did 20 to 11. My favorite games of all time is the ones I told you about earlier. It was Demon Souls, Hitman 2 Silent Assassin, and
okay.
Persona 4
That was so
Golden.
long ago, I forgot about it.
Yeah, I mean, we are now 2 hours in. I'm sorry, I was expecting this to take a lot less time.
That's good. I had fun talking about video games.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, it's a lot of fun, man. And now I will have content out the ass. So thank you kindly.
Well, you're welcome. And I expect that paycheck in a couple days.
Of course.
The agreed upon amount of 15,000.
And a penis picture.
Yeah, well, that one comes with it, I guess.
I'm super fun.
I didn't specify whose penis it was.
It's gonna be me, of course. Is there any doubt about that? Okay. Well, I am super hungry and I have a lot of editing to do, so thank you so much, Prod.
Well, you're welcome, buddy. It was fun to talk about games. I appreciate you inviting me onto your brand new YouTube channel.
Thank you. I have to monetize it somehow, and well, you are very monetizable.
I will be copyright claiming this video, and I'll be getting every cent.
Oh, this video is going to make a whole of nothing. It's gonna earn nothing. I'm 700 subs in. I'm 150 hours of watch time. I need 4,000.
You're close.
Well, with the Armored Core review is gonna get more, and I think the top 10 is gonna get more. I just have posted a lot of, 30-second videos, which is fun and people love it, but it doesn't get the watch time.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna let you go now to do your thing. I'm gonna ask my wife what's for dinner.
All right, I'll see you at dinner.
Love you.
I'll be there in a moment. Bye, Lost.
Bye.
See you soon.